fundamental sin of the Bible. The temptation to turn God into an object, something we can manipulate and use for our own purposes. It is giving our allegiance, our fundamental commitment to something other than God. For example, the golden calf, forged from the spoils of Egypt, born Moses argues with God, "Remember, O Lord, do not people." Saul first Christians were called. Saul becomes Paul. The chief of sinners becomes the apostle. Humbled, brought low, returned to the ground. A man of violence like Saul, the murderer of proto-martyr St. Stephen, for example, repents and is made new. A great example of the fierce tender who is able to crush the terrible resistance of our idolatrous hearts. And now our gospel today. 3 parables about mercy and repentance. The lost sheep, the lost coin, the prodigal son. But first, mercy. In all 3 parables, God is looking for us. God is always looking for us, taking the initiative, inviting us into repentance, into relationship. From the beginning, in the creation story, after the fall, we are hiding in the garden, hiding our nakedness and vulnerability, and God is looking for us. Adam, where are you? All 3 parables could have other names. The searching shepherd, the careful sweeping woman, the waiting father. All 3 capturing the persistence of God looking for what is lost. God is still searching for us. Then and now, you and me, calling us, restoring us to relationship, into repentance, inviting us to the party, the festivity, the celebration. Repentance begins with us waking up to God's ever prior initiative. God's grace is always already there. Repentance is our response, our turning around and recognizing this invitation to new life and new creation. There will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents, says our first parable. Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that was lost, says the woman in our second parable. They are both evangelists because they invite their neighbors to share their joy. And finally, the parable of the waiting father, scanning the horizon, looking, longing for the prodigal to appear, waiting for his son to come to himself, to wake up to the poverty of his own condition. God is waiting for all of us to come to ourselves, to wake up to our own presence in the world and to our poverty of spirit. Like the prodigal, God sees us coming while we are still a long way off, takes the initiative, runs to us, gives us a big hug and a kiss, calls for the best robe and the ring of restored relationship, the fatted calf and the celebratory feast. Pope Francis recently put it in a very powerful way, talking about the liturgy, about the Mass. Before our response to his invitation, well before, there is his desire for us. We may not even be aware of it, but every time we go to Mass, the first reason is that we are drawn there by his desire for us. The question really is, do we have room in our hearts for the feast, for God's generosity towards sinners, the broken, and the lost? And do we extend the same generosity toward others? Are we ready to be surprised by grace and the joy of repentance?